This dude was so excited. He pulled like a reverse Habib, but for celebratory reasons, because his guy pulled off truly one of the most spectacular knockouts in UFC history on Saturday. Yair Rodriguez beating the Korean Zombie, and his coach of Yair joins us now, Izzy Martinez. Israel, look at you, man. How are you?
Wow, what an experience. I was fortunate enough to be in Holly Holm's corner when she knocked out Ronda Rousey, and that was something special. Being in John's corner, winning fights, that was special. Pettis, choking out Oliveira was special, but wow, this one was awesome.
I'm surprised you have your voice. You were like screaming and fist pumping. Be honest, man. I've seen you. I remember when you celebrated for Holly, you were beyond excited, but I'd never seen you jump over the cage like this. Something just overtook you, didn't it?
Me and Yair, we've been through a lot. I met him about 6 years ago at Jackson Wink, maybe 5, 6 years ago, down there training. We built a strong relationship. Yair Rodriguez ended up moving to Chicago. He was actually living in my basement for over a year. We ended up splitting ways for a little bit, but we're back. And you know what? Yair's like a little brother of mine. And a lot of emotions, watching him literally a couple weeks ago, was concerned about even fighting and what he's going to do next. And before you know it, we're the main event, and he does something special like that. It was unbelievable.
It was truly special. Let's get a bit of an update. I saw all the pictures from him in the hospital gown and the gurney. How is he doing physically today? I'm assuming a little bit better.
You know what? I spoke to him last night before bed. I think he's doing great. His mind is strong, and his body's strong also. But, when Yair feels good mentally, unbelievable things happen. He thought he broke his foot, so in the first round, he's tapping on his leg to me that, maybe his foot's broke. And we kind of pushed through it. And then his nose in the back, they said he had his nose was broke, and his hand, and he's got 4 swollen parts of his body that are pretty swollen, but they said there's no broken bones, and he's ready. He's feeling awesome. When you win a fight like that, you tend to feel a little bit better than when you lose one.
So let's talk about the good and the bad of that. First of all, where would you rank that on the good side in terms of knockouts in the UFC? Just in terms of strangeness, it's got to be at the top of the list, but in terms of greatness as well, man. Someone asked me, is that a top 5 UFC knockout? It probably is.
You know what? It's the UFC's been around for a long time now, 25 years. I haven't seen all the fights. I don't know if I've seen all the knockouts, and we have that short window memory of the last couple years, but maybe 10 years. I don't know. In my eyes, I've never seen a cooler knockout in my life, not even in a video game. I mean, it was just an awesome situation. I probably watched it 100 times, and it was awesome.
Now, he throws a lot of spinning elbows, especially when guys get inside of his jab range. He does that to counteract them. I'm guessing he has done this before in training, but for the folks who say, oh, that elbow was totally accidental, you say what?
Well, I say, that everybody has an opinion, but we all know Yair that's close to him. He does the craziest stuff. He's got elbows from his back. He's got elbows from the side. He's got elbows from the clinch. This is another one of those unique ideas and flows that Yair's put together. We've seen him, I've seen him hold back elbows in the gym for years, without clobbering guys. And, we were anticipating, believe it or not, that flying knee by the Korean Zombie. He throws that flying knee a lot, and I think when he, for the first part of the fight, when we were going down, we were anticipating kind of taking him down from that flying knee, and then Yair got creative, and last second he hit that elbow. But yeah, I mean, that's Yair. If you know Yair personally and you've seen him train, that's who he is. He can do a lot of things that not many people can.
Yeah, my sense is that it was improvisational but not accidental. Like, he was just feeling and flowing and threw it, but he knew what he was doing when he threw it. Does that make sense?
That makes 100% sense. They actually said it better than I did. He didn't, I don't think he really meant to do it, throughout the fight and going into the fight. This is how I'm going to catch the zombie. But, it's a skill that he's had. And, I think he threw it.
Now, you and I spoke years ago about when John Jones, before he fought the OSP fight, and I'm thinking of him today because he said something after the Gustafsson fight, which was, man, I needed a fight like that. I grew up in the octagon that night. Did Yair grow up in the octagon in Denver?
I'll tell you what, he grew, his coaches grew, his fans grew, everything about Yair Rodriguez grew. It was an unbelievable night. We talked about it. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about, how deep he went mentally. And that's part of our goal with Yair is never give up. Never give up, never feel that you're out of these game, never feel like, you want to quit. And when you do, you flip that mindset. And there's always times in fights where, I don't care how tough you are. These fighters are thinking about, man, I'm coming from behind. This fight's over. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And Yair got a chance to push through all of that. And, I told him, you dug deep, Yair. And he told me, I don't know where I dug, but I'll tell you what, it hurt. And I feel a lot better now that it's over. So, when guys say that and fighters say that, they push that wall back 3-4 feet. And Yair's going to be able to go even harder next time.
When you jumped over the fence and he was laying on the ground, completely exhausted, what did you say to him? What did he say to you?
Okay, so it was crazy. We're going crazy. I'm a very emotional guy. And the fighters that are so close to me know that. My high school wrestlers know that. I love my athletes and I love, coaching them, watching them go through these trials and tribulations. So Yair comes running up. We're jumping. I'm jumping on the cage. Victor's jumping on the cage. It was epic, And Yair says, Coach, we did it. And he goes, I said, how you doing? Yeah. He goes, I'm going to pass out, So he thought he was literally going to pass out. He was so tired. So as he was falling back, I just kind of hung on to him. And then by the time I tried to get back, because you can hear the commission, get down. Then you can hear the crowd. It's just for people that, it's hard to explain, but I kind of got pulled over the cage. When Yair was falling back, I got pulled over, and then Victor jumped on us. It was just a wild scenario. When I hit the floor, Yair went down. Commission came to kind of look at Yair. I picked Yair up. Oh, man, wild, But, when I was screaming and I was going nuts, it's hard to explain, like I was saying earlier. When you're in that cage, and Bruce Buffer's 2 feet away from you, and he's saying, winner by knockout. Yeah, and you can feel it in your blood. You can feel it. The crowd's going crazy, and you don't care how you look. You don't care what people think about you at that point. You're happy for your athlete. You're happy for everything he's gone through, and it was a very proud moment.
What was the game plan? Now that the fight's over, what were you guys trying to do?
You know what? We were trying to stay basic. That was a whole thing we've been working on with Yair for years. Basics were the key. Stay fundamentally strong. Watch out for his uppercut. Be aware of his pressure. He had a great body lock. We know that he's had a great body lock. We know he's, the key things that he's very good at. We had to make sure we were aware of it. We didn't want to get stuck on our back down there and waste a bunch of energy because of the altitude. That was one thing. We know Yair's very good on his back, but like I said, we just didn't want to waste a bunch of energy, and we wanted literally, we have the X factor. We're from Albuquerque. We trained in Albuquerque. Yair grew up there, in his fight career. Cowboy Cerrone's ranch is in altitude. So, like I told Yair, anything can happen after the second round. I don't care how badass anybody is, that altitude, there's a reason there's no heavyweights on that card, because they can't fight in altitude. And we knew that. And I told Yair, you got the heart of a champion and the mind of a champion. Let's stay basic. Let's continue to do what you do and let it fly. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to get tired, but let's play smart, because we felt that Zombie was going to, we felt that the altitude was going to affect him.
Now, let's be honest about this too, man. That 5-round fight was brutal. And your guy came out on top by showing unbelievable skill and unbelievable heart. But wow, man, I always watch that when two guys are in a hospital together and they're you feel great because it's like, wow, what warrior spirit. At the same time, you're like, man, you shouldn't be fighting too many of those. You ever get concerned that was just a lot of damage?
You know what? It's we believe every fighter needs one of those. It's one of those things like, you tell a young athlete, you tell a young fighter, even the older guys, you need to get your ass kicked to kind of be woken up a little bit. And you need to go through some dirty fights, some trenches, but you don't need to do that every day. You don't need to get punched in the head every day. And that's one of those fights that we're going to have in our bag, and we're always going to be able to pull out all the things we've learned from that. But there's no way we want that type of fight again. Those things are deadly. Yair's beat up, and that's going to be stuck in his head, good and bad, for the rest of his life. So we want to make sure that we take the positive over the negative and move forward. But yeah, definitely, Luke, you know that you don't want to be getting hit in the head. You don't want to get beat up every day. And those long 5-pound fights are good for the fans, but they're not good for us. We want to try to do that early.
Now, how did you have it scored heading into the fifth? Two of the judges apparently had it 3-1. One of the judges had it 2-2. I think in real time in my brain anyway, I didn't really score it, but just thinking, I was like, I feel like it's anybody's fight heading into the fifth. How did you feel?
Well, okay, so while we were in the fight, I thought it was, I thought that he would, it was close. I thought maybe we were down one round. I thought that the third round or the fourth round, I'm not sure how the fighters were judging it, but I knew this. And what I told Yair going into the fourth and fifth round is we got to finish this guy. Because that's what these fighters need to hear when the fight is that close. If they think they just need to win the round, and then a lot of times they lose, it's because they didn't push hard enough. So to me, it didn't matter where we were. I knew that Yair, the message to Yair was we got to finish this guy, and we got to find a way. But now that I've watched the fight, I thought it was 2-2 going into the fifth round. And, but the judges are the judges. And you know what? I respect them also. So I respect their opinion.
Now, can we talk about Yair's life the last year? What an up and down, right? So he gets cut from the UFC,
Wow.
which was crazy. He comes back. I know he's floated around, but he found his way back to you again. From your vantage point, what kind of year has it been for him since, let's say, the Frankie Edgar loss, or year and a half, really?
Okay, so anybody that knows Yair knows that he's a different breed. He's all about his family. He's all about feeling good. He's all about vibe. And when things weren't feeling good, he wanted to get a new look and a new vibe. And sure, it's disappointing. And you know what? But you love him and you stick by him, and you never close the door on him. And before Zabit, I was. I'm trying to think where I was, but I got a text message from Yair, and he says, "Coach, I want to come back. I want to get to work, and I want to get ready for Zabit." And I said, "Let's do it." And then the more and more you talk to him, he kind of tells you what happened in his life these last years. Not many people know his first ever coach passed away. His Taekwondo coach passed away. He split with his ex-striking coach. He left gym, bounced to Vegas. Vegas wasn't the right thing to do. He didn't feel Vegas was there. He was in Mexico building some townhouses for his family. Yair's a very good person. And when things are getting a little crazy, he goes home and regroups, and his family's very, very tight with him. So, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and not many men can, overcome what he did, especially not a 22, 23-year-old boy, or young man, let's say. There's been a lot of, hey, you got fired. We were joking after the fight. You went from fired to hired to now the baddest man at 145 pounds. And literally overnight. And that's it's the UFC, it's the fight game. So I think Yair's embracing it all.
When you guys got back together, was it like picking up where you left off, or were there some ironing out that needed to happen?
We had to have a couple serious talks, just like anything else. I'm a very aggressive guy when it comes to the fighters and my expectations of what I want from fighters and how I expect them to be. In Chicago, I have a wrestling school. And in my wrestling school, I have boys from the ages of 15 through 18. And what Yair does on and off the mat matters. And it matters to me, and it matters to the future of our program, these young athletes. So, sometimes these fighters are on their own time schedule. Sometimes these fighters do things that for a pro athlete, they can live their lives like that. But when Yair came back, we discussed those things. We discussed some things that he didn't like on my end, and we make adjustments, and that's what good coaches do for fighters. You make adjustments, You sit down, you hash it out, you talk it out, you get it, you overcome whatever's in between us, and we move forward. And I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have a great relationship with Yair.
Yeah, you guys seem to be clicking, and certainly he's firing on all cylinders. So who's he training with now? I didn't get a chance to interview him for Denver with you, obviously. I noticed that the gentleman who does the Spanish language broadcasts is in his corner for the UFC, right?
Yeah, so Victor, Yair trusts. It's easier for you to trust some of these Spanish-speaking guys and these Mexican guys that are validated throughout the Mexican MMA community. Victor reached out to him, or he reached out to Victor, Kevin Gastelum, and he stayed with those guys at King's MMA. So he was calling me, talking to me about all the guys he's working out with. He's so pumped. He's going to start going to 10th Planet with Eddie Bravo. He's got his manager Tiki. So then he'll be going into Huntington Beach with Juan Archuleta and a bunch of those guys. Yair doesn't like the snow. He doesn't like the freezing weather. So Yair's predominantly going to be out in California training at King's MMA in Huntington Beach with those guys, and doing his mental training and his wrestling here in Chicago with us.
I believe that, yes, great athletes can overcome bad circumstances to get great wins, but I also believe that when they're dialed in, they're at their best. And it just seemed to me, I don't know that, look, I'm not saying his life is perfect or that there's nothing weighing on his shoulders. I guess what I am saying, though, is it does feel like whatever storm cloud was over his life, I don't think he turns in a performance against the Korean Zombie unless much of that passes.
Yeah, I think that, you got a great sense of exactly what happens with these fighters. If they can overcome it and they can have the performance of their lifetime, that's when it gets mega. A lot of these fighters, they can overcome it and get to the fight and then not get the results they want. So you kind of still fighting through that, But Yair felt great this camp. There was no problems in his training camp. He had a great post weigh-in dinner. We had 35 people at Ophelia's in downtown Denver on the stage. It was just an unbelievable experience. And you're right. Yair's free. He feels free. He feels he doesn't owe anybody anything. He feels he's in the right frame of mind, but he also feels he's around the right people, and that's huge.
Now, what's next? Do you think this Zabit fight is a do or die? You saw Zabit calling him out on Twitter. Selfishly, I'd love to see it. I just don't know what do you think, and what do you think he's thinking?
You know what? I can tell you what, Yair's enjoying his family right now, and he doesn't give a crap about Zabit. We got a lot of respect for those guys. A lot of those Russian, Dagestanian fighters were in Albuquerque, New Mexico for years. So as I was down there coaching with those guys, I became friends with a lot of those guys. And I know they have a lot of respect for Yair, and I know Yair has a lot of respect for him. It's part of the job. Call these guys out. They want fights. This is a big mega fight. I think Yair's ready for anybody at this point. Like you said earlier, he's feeling good. He's vibing, he's flowing. I'd like to see the Zabit fight. I'd like to see him run it back with Frankie Edgar. No disrespect to Frankie Edgar, but he's a different animal now. And I really believe that he's in a great frame of mind. But you know what? I'm also not about pushing these fighters to positions where they're not ready. And I think that if Yair can stay around somebody in the top 10, high top 10s, 10 to 15, anybody will work. But if it's up to Yair, he wants them all.
Before I let you go, Coach, I really appreciate your time. You're still working with John Jones, right?
Yes, sir. I head down to Albuquerque tomorrow. So tomorrow we get to work. I usually step in about 6 weeks out, kind of get John ready to go. He's been taking the last 4 weeks, getting his cardio right, getting a bunch of things right with jiu-jitsu instructor, Professor Tusa, Roberto Alencar. Six Gun Gibson is down there. So we got those two guys on him heavily. 2-3 day workouts. I talked to Brandon Gibson last night. He got a great workout in at 8:30 at night. John's ready to go. And that's all I pretty much got to say about John. He's ready to go. It's going to be exciting. And I'll get down there tomorrow.
Then I'll ask you this, and then we'll let you ride. What are you expecting from this next, and maybe, I won't say the last chapter in the sense that it's coming to a close, but let's say the last big competitive chapter of John's career? What are you expecting from here? What do you think is possible?
Well, it's like Yair. Yair overcome a lot, and he feels great. John's overcome a lot, and he feels great also. You get that vibe from him. You get that energy. He called me the other day as we're talking to Yair before the fight, wishing Yair good luck, and I noticed his head was shaved. And when John Jones shaves his head, that means he's all business. So it was good to see him with his head shaved. It was good to see him with high spirits, wishing Macy Barber, wishing Yair Rodriguez good luck as I cornered those guys. So he's ready. His spirits are high, and it's dangerous when these guys can overcome some stuff and move forward because John's going to put on a show.
Well, I can't wait to see it. Mr. Martinez, you are a credit to the sport. You know what? You know what your problem is, Izzy? You just not enough caffeine. That's your issue. You need more caffeine.
Yeah, you know what? I love what I do, and I love the people around me. So I'll fight tooth and nail for every one of them. And if it happens to jump over the cage and fall, I'll do what I got to do.
We look forward to seeing the next one of those. Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your time.
Take care.
There he is. Man, that guy. You know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of my drill instructors at boot camp. They were just super hardcore moto charged at all times, man. And it's I'm telling you, guys like that raise your performance.